It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
All right, this next question is from a dear friend of the show. This is from Dan. This is a Facebook question. Dan said, thoughts on high inflation rates. Do we change the strategy in these times, right? So we hear all this stuff about inflation. So I think it'd be valuable for us to talk about if we are indeed entering into an inflationary environment, and that's going to be something that's going to be a reality over the coming year, months, years, fill in the blank. Should we change our strategy? Are there things we ought to be doing or things we ought not to be doing as it relates to preparing for an inflationary environment?
I definitely think it calls for you to have a portfolio and life double check moment here to make sure you are structured to navigate what's going on now. The good news is all the advice we've been giving for years lines up nicely because good decision making financially will typically weather all situations you face. That's why they're kind of all weather. Instead of summer tires, winter tires, we give you all weather advice that kind of holds up through a lot of seasons of life and what you might be facing. Inflation is definitely something I think people are starting to catch on because we heard for months the federal government came out and go, oh, this is going to be transitionary. This is just because we have some supply chain issues. As soon as it gets fixed, this is going to flow through us. It's just going to be like a passing breeze. And I think we're now quickly seeing, nope, this feels like it might be sticking around a little bit. So we get questions from Dan saying, should we have a bigger look at what's going on and how this impacts us personally? So I want to give you the overview. First of all, the way to think about things when you have inflation is to look at your assets and go, what are things that actually typically do good from inflation? And look, everybody knows real estate. Mm-hmm. Real estate is historically, we know that's a great inflation hedge. One that people don't think about as much is owning actually your portfolio of equities and other things. Because what do you think is going to happen? If refrigerators are more expensive, GE and Whirlpool will go raise the price on those refrigerators. So in the short term, yes, there might be some volatility while they're figuring out the supply chain stuff. But rest assured, those companies always keep the ability to raise prices and pass that on to you as it flows through to profit of the company. But then a lot of people historically, we've always heard gold, and then a new kid on the block is Bitcoin.
Sure, cryptocurrency.
Because, and here's the thing, gold is the same thing as, it's got a lot of the same indicators as Bitcoin in the fact that they both have limited supply. That's what people like about it, because what's inflation? You hear about the government's printing all this money. Well, there's only so much gold on the planet. There's only so much Bitcoin that's going to be mined. So just that does make them inflation hedges in the fact that they have a known quantity that's out there in the marketplace. The part that makes it a little harder for me and why, and like I'm not bashing these things, but just why I personally have not used this for myself and why I haven't done it for clients is that it comes back to what are you buying? That's right. And look, I'm not getting into a squabble over what these things are, but gold and Bitcoin both don't generate income. They don't, there's no innovation going on. Look, I know blockchain is very innovative, but what you're actually buying does not innovate. And that ultimately leads to the only way you can make money is if somebody is willing to pay you more than what you pay. Now, look, here recently, Bitcoin is on a tear. Sure. It's reaching all-time highs. I think it broke 66,000. So a lot of people are really excited about that. And I had somebody who unfortunately didn't get the memo that all gold investors are supposed to be buying Bitcoin because they told me over the weekend, I had neighbors say, yeah, I bought some gold and it's just doing absolutely nothing. And I'm like, yeah, that's because all the gold investors have now flipped over to the new digital version of gold, which is Bitcoin. And so I don't have a problem with Bitcoin. It's just that ultimately when I'm looking at what is intrinsic value and how am I going to get my money in the future, while there's craziness going on geopolitically and all the crazy world we're living in, I can see why Bitcoin is doing so well. And I'm okay if you're dabbling in that. But for me personally, I'm still on the fence about it. I'm still sitting on the sidelines waiting until I feel a compelling part. But that's the biggest thing. And let me bring it back because I went on a little bit of a tangent.
Oh, yeah.
So sorry.
It's okay. We like the roller coaster.
Bringing it back to what Dan's question was, what should we be thinking about with inflation is, I was asking myself, what do I own that will appreciate? That's a huge inflation hedge. And then also, are there tools? Because I don't love leverage. I mean, we are very anti-leverage, but there is a very unique opportunity if you are on step 8 of the financial order of operations. That go to moneyguy.com/resources, download those 9 steps that we talk about. Once you've built that foundation and you can get into, if you are a rental property person or you're buying a commercial building to house your business and other things, it is a unique opportunity. I think we'll all look back on and go, holy cow, I was able to buy this asset for a highly subsidized low interest rate. That creates a leverage opportunity, which is a direct inflation hedge too. But know where you are with your own personal decision making so that you don't get out ahead of over your skis and make a bad decision.
The only thing that I would add to that, Brian, is we've been fielding the inflation question so often, and it's been posed this way. Hey, what things should I be doing to prepare for inflation? I think because we've answered that question like no less than 9,000 times at this point, I want to flip it. And here's a question you should be asking yourself. Are there things I'm currently doing that would hurt myself in an inflationary environment? Meaning, am I someone who's like scared and I'm trying to build up cash and I have tons of money in a savings account? Or like you said, am I really trying to retire super, super low interest debt at the expense of building a well-diversified portfolio of assets somewhere else? I would start thinking about those kinds of questions because unfortunately, in an inflationary environment, the folks who are most often hurt or damaged by that are really, really good savers, are folks that live on like fixed incomes who count on, interest or CD pay. Those types of investors are the ones who are going to have a lot of trouble in an inflationary environment. The ones who have a very well thought out, well diversified, strategically designed plan, I think are the ones who are going to be able to make it through whatever environment the world throws at you, specifically an inflationary environment. So I do a self-assessment and say, okay, are the decisions I'm making now going to play out well in an inflationary environment? And think more about that than, okay, what strategy shift should I be moving to? I'd make sure there's not things I should be moving away from. That's my thought on that. Dan, thank you for the question. Hope you guys are awesome.
While you were giving that answer, you know what I just realized?
What's that?
I'm kind of like the color guy who gives the all the different things. Like when you're watching the Olympics, I'm the one giving the background story on why you should cheer for this person.
Right.
And then you're the person that comes in and gives the play-by-play on why this actually is the way things work. And I think that's great. I mean, because I was like, man, that's a really good answer as a viewer watching that. And I was like, Brian, what did you just talk about? And I was like, I guess that's just I was given some character to the whole thing.
You know what? It takes both kinds. I think it works well.